Hello, my name is Brian.
And I'm Hudson, and we're two geeks talking about the geek. Darkest dungeon? Are we going a little dark in a
We are
dungeon?
going dark and gritty, Hudson. These are like
Oh,
my favorite things as an adult for some reason. It's funny, when I was young, I used to love just always being the good guy, the classic. I mean, I was into DC Comics, which back then was like the most hokey superhero stuff in the world. And then as I've gotten older, everything's dark, gritty, skulls, undead. Love every minute of it. And we are going to talk about gritty campaign settings in your RPGs. So we are talking tabletop RPGs, not the video games, but this is just such a fun game and the artwork's great. So I had to pick that. So
I mean, it's a good place to start if you're trying to make your own dark, gritty things. A good place to
it is.
start.
I mean, that game hit every button for me. The artwork, the way it felt. Man, I love that game. So currently, the campaign that I'm running in D&D, we're recording it for a podcast. So please check us out on D4 on the Floor. It is a very highly edited podcast, and our current campaign, which isn't released yet as of this day, but it is a dark and gritty campaign. And why do I do gritty, or why did I want to try it out? So let me just get that out there. I really like the idea of things feeling important. So for the immersion factor, I love seeing if I can get players to be tense or care about every little thing or have to care about every little thing. And I have truly enjoyed it, but I've learned a lot from it as well. What do you think, Hudson? Because I know you're playing in my campaign now, of course, and then you've played in some other gritty rule campaigns. What do you think?
It can be grueling at times. That other one, I'm playing the tank. I still don't know how I'm still alive.
Is this the one where the you guys allow for crits to you can keep rolling the crits over and
Oh
over again,
yeah.
exploding dice?
Yeah, if you roll
Ah,
if you're like the die rolls max damage, you can roll it again.
yeah, that's pretty intense.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I frequently take hits bigger than the other players have hit points.
Oh, so it's good that you're tanking because otherwise they are dead.
Yeah.
There's something in my teeth. I don't. Okay, all right, sorry. That was weird to do that on air, but I did it anyways.
Because of my teeth, I'm not gonna have teeth in this campaign.
Yeah.
You roll for
Um.
brush teeth.
So let me talk a little bit about gritty campaigns, though. So, what kind of makes my campaign gritty is that we do like an insanity check thing. So, if your guys take enough insanity points on their insanity bar, not a very good thing happens in the end. And then also healing is not as like easy, or long rests and short rests are not as convenient as they are in D&D. And then the
Yeah.
world's kind of post-apocalyptic, so there's just not a lot out there as well. So, things to watch out for though when you are running a gritty campaign. First off, make sure all your players are up for it, because there's going to be a lot of players that are not going to be up for it, or they think they're up for it and they start playing and are probably like, "Oh, this is not very fun." What do you think of that comment?
I mean, yeah, like I think that's
Yeah,
true of any campaign. You're like,
true,
as a DM,
true.
like I'm go like, hey, this is what I want to run. This is what I'm trying to achieve. This is what my goal is. And they're like, are you interested? And people go, yes or no, right?
Yeah,
And after that, like if they go like this isn't what I thought it was going to be, like you can have the conversation like why they thought it was going to be different, or turns out maybe they were just really excited about playing D&D, and then they didn't realize how much they didn't want to do this one style or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
But
True.
I think it's good to have that conversation and then
It
revisit
is.
when it's appropriate.
Yes, and DMs should always be kind of trying to pay attention to their players too. I will say in this gritty campaign that I'm running now, I definitely feel like I could see you guys get frustrated at times with lengthy travel and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. I remember stopping and telling you guys one time, like, don't worry, just be patient with me. I promise. I promise. I promise. Like there's going to be something good because it was just nothing but brutal slugfest and brutal travel
Yeah.
for quite a long time. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it's still kind of like that, but yeah, I could see it on your guys' faces. So on the flip side, though, it's definitely fun. And it's kind of actually messed some things up for me as a DM, I think. But it's definitely fun that I do feel like you guys are definitely tense when something happens or something shows up, like anything. And the only bad thing is I've seen you guys totally make decisions that I was like, oh, I kind of figured they would do that, but they're so freaked out about what I'm gonna do. Okay, well, I created that on my own little monster there. Whoops.
Yeah.
But
Definitely have had that experience. I made a character in a not gritty campaign, but I made a character that they were kind of oppositional against when they first met it. And then I tried to have them approach that in I need you to help me with something. And their first reaction to it was like, we're gonna kill you now. Yeah, like this is not the direction that I want the story to go. I'm gonna have to figure out a
yeah.
different way to make it go.
Yeah, I don't know. I just like the fact that, combat is like more scary and just anything in general can kind of be more hard and scary in a gritty campaign, depending on how you run it.
Yeah.
But I just want everything to matter as a DM, and the grittiness kind of helps that, I think. Yeah, things can be brutal at times, and there's a reason for it. And in this campaign that I'm running, there's a lot of things are going to happen based on what you guys do. Like if you decide, if a dragon shows up and you guys are really low level and you want to charge into the dragon, probably just going to die. Sorry. Like it's your own fault. I don't know. What am I going to do? So, it's been fun. It's been fun. I've enjoyed it quite a bit. But I will say again, be careful. Make sure you don't make it too grueling for everybody. And you were telling me about your gritty campaign that you played in, where, I mean, the long rest. You said a long rest was an entire week,
Yeah.
and right away I said that's got to be terrible for spellcasters.
Yeah.
Like, are the spellcasters in those games even enjoy the game after a little while?
I got the other three characters all have spells. I don't. So
Yeah. So were they frustrated or was it fine?
um I think they were a little bit better. They were a little more measured in their spells and they wanted to make their spells count for more. One interesting thing that was happening though was we were gaining a lot of experience. So we would gain like 2 levels before we needed to rest. So like that was one way that they were getting spell slots back. They were just getting higher level spell slots.
Weird. Okay.
Um,
How'd that go?
it allowed my character to get more hills, which was important because he was a tank. And like when
Yeah.
I say he is the tank, like he runs up and fights things like in person, and everybody else is raged.
Yeah. Sure.
He is the
Sure.
only character that is like willing to close with the enemy. I had to lean so heavily into making his like hit points skyrocket.
Yeah. So, like, just in this conversation, I can tell that the gritty campaigns had an impact on you, on just even your combat, how you're leveling.
Mhm.
So, to me, that's kind of cool. Like, I mean, hopefully you're enjoying that process, but that is kind of cool because it's kind of dull to me when I'm playing in a role-playing game and everything I do just automatically happens, or like you fight things and you're not threatened at all, and you're like, yeah,
Yeah,
I'm gonna
yeah,
win this fight, and
yeah.
to me that's like almost killing role playing for me.
So if you're gonna do like a trivial fight in Dungeons and Dragons, for example, you need to have half dozen of them and then make one fight matter.
Yeah,
Because like you're like, well, they're trivial. And I'm like, but they're gonna cast a spell. they're going to take a hit.
Yeah,
And like, so it's a death by 1,000 cuts.
totally.
And then when they get to that big fight, suddenly they don't have full HP. They don't have all of their spell slots. Like that big
Yeah,
fight, suddenly they're not necessarily set up to win it.
yeah. And honestly, in gritty campaigns too, the strategic combat is so important because, man, if you're getting housed in combat and there's cover there and you're not taking that cover, that's going to be a big deal, you know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I like the intensity that it brings with everything.
Well, and then if somebody tries to get smart with you and like take a rest someplace, like penalize the crap out of them if they
Yeah,
don't like.
yeah, all those things that like traditional, maybe like the standard fantasy games go, just sometimes it's just so everything's so easy. And teach their own again, but it's I just like it when things count, and it's not like you have to have a gritty campaign to make things count by any means. That's not where I'm going at all. But yeah, I like it when things matter, and it's this campaign I'm having fun with it. I hope all you guys are. It's been
Yeah.
pretty interesting, pretty interesting.
I that last combat, I wondered how many of us. I wondered if we were all going to make it out, and there was a couple times when I wondered if I was going to make it out, and then
Yep. I was
I
stressed as the DM, and that was cool. I was like, oh my gosh, because the first, several hits were all crits, even though they were tiny hits, and I'm like, oh, max damage. Oh, max damage. Oh, max damage. Almost max damage. Oh, max damage. It's like, ooh, that was so interesting. So interesting.
uh,
But yeah, I think part of it I like too, the more immersed you get in role playing, I mean, I think everybody has more fun if they get immersed, of course, but I also kind of just think like the shared experience is kind of awesome where everybody gets done, they're like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe that just happened." Like,
mhm.
"Whoa, I'm so glad you did that. I was thinking about doing this and then I went over that way. I'm glad, this happened." And it's just kind of like a little war story everybody has, you know?
Yeah, yeah. I've
Or
never seen Word of Radiance matter so much,
yeah,
but it
or
worked.
in a gritty campaign, or just trying to make things matter in general, just role playing too, if there's something you gotta find and you keep taking the wrong path or you're not looking, like just it's I'm just gonna let it happen, and like you're just gonna have to keep at it, instead of just the typical go in and always find what you need and you're good to go and that kind of thing. I
Right.
think of Shadowrun. The third edition rules are so deadly that every time combat happens, it's like like it's kind of it's kind of freaky. So getting my D&D kind of to a point where it's at least feels like it's deadly, I think is a good thing. I like it a lot. I think gritty campaigns too can just help add some problem solving that people have to do that maybe they wouldn't think of in other campaigns or in a
Yeah,
standard campaign,
yeah,
At least for a while, some players having to like figure out what to do for food. Now, some people are like, that's so dumb. I do not want to have to worry about that.
yeah.
And I get that, but at least to start the campaign at a lower level, it I think it's kind of fun that you guys had to worry about food for a bit and just to add a little bit more stress and a little more like ah but now kind of don't have to worry about that very much, but it's still
I think there's an extra layer there though, like without talking too
oh,
much about it, right? Like,
I know exactly what you're gonna say now.
yeah, there's an extra layer there because now that
That
individual has to hold back a little bit.
yeah, the like you might have to use up a resource that you did not want to use just to survive, and that is kind of fun too. And I really enjoy that too. I really enjoy that too. One of the things I want to do, and this game makes me think about it a lot, Darkest Dungeon. And I mean, I've done it before, but I just keep forgetting to do it in our current campaign. I like it when there's a crit that something else happens that's not just like damage, right? And I'm kind of like that with any role. If it's a my house rules like a crit 1 or a crit 20 on anything will always help you or add a little negative something to it because I just think it's fun. But we've talked a lot about initiatives mattering and not mattering, and I need to do better at when there's a big old physical thing going in and it punches you. If it crits, knocks your initiative order down by 2 or 3. That'd be pretty fun. Or, a spell hits you and rocks you really hard, messes with your initiative
Yeah,
order.
you could also just add like a condition too, like prone. That's
Yes.
hugely negative. Can be
Oh
hugely
yeah.
negative,
Yes. True.
right? Like
True.
there's a lot of things you could do with that. Like
I
initiative,
agree.
messing with the initiative is seems kind of fun. I think you'd be fine in our group, but like in general, I think you might want to. I would caution people to kind of test the waters out with their player base before you start messing with the initiative too much. Um,
I don't think it would surprise anybody in this campaign. I'm
Now,
being like, oh
again,
gosh, but yeah, I know what you're saying. If the rule
it's
doesn't exist, any house rule you do, you should make sure you kind of let your players know and talk about it, because just in case you don't want to have them upset or you don't want to have a negative play experience for
mhm.
anybody. And
Yeah, another thing you could do that's really penalizing in like these gritty campaigns is like, having your characters get possessed. But you still got to be careful with that because that is a sure recipe for letting people
yeah,
get angry about it, right?
true, true. And also death, honestly. I mean, I know I talked to you guys about it's going to be dark and gritty, and death's going to be a scary thing to be thinking about. But a character death can 100% get somebody very upset. So just got to keep that in mind too. And it's not like I'm trying to like kill you guys all the time or anything like that, but I'm trying to always make it feel tough. So that's
Yeah.
definitely a thing. This post-apocalyptic gritty campaign we're running, again, there's not a lot of towns. There's not a lot of animals. There's just not a lot of anything. So, and it's meant to be that way.
Hmm.
And that can frustrate people. I do think it actually has frustrated you guys a bit. Again, I saw it on your faces and a while back, and had some talks and stuff. But yeah, like finding a magical item is like, oh, I found a magical item. Um, and I think that's kind of cool. However, on the flip side of that, finding magical items all the time is also very cool and fun too. So it's
Can
I
be.
think I'm probably like ruining some of the fun there for people by not dishing out very many of them. But hopefully the people that are getting them or whatever are appreciating them a lot,
Hmm.
or trying to figure out a clever way to use them or something, because it might be something kind of odd, that I just threw out there for fun based on what I think would possibly be there. And I do love seeing people be creative with stuff. So, and giving them a really bizarre magical item that really does kind of a weird random things actually can be pretty fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
like
Yeah.
you gave us a ring that allowed somebody to use an extra, well, a cantrip, right? And it was just
Yeah.
like everybody was just like, "Oh, the non-spellcaster should use it." I'm like, "Nah, not really."
Yeah.
I
It was
mean, I
there.
mean, but I feel like my character would use it in very creative ways that other people might not think of, but I mean, that's not
But
what we're here about.
but I do like that when in campaigns when a magical item is seen and the players have to figure out who gets it or whatever. I mean, that is
Mhm.
pretty cool. And it should kind of always be like that. It probably always is in most campaigns, but because I would imagine one person's not going to try to hog everything, or they won't be playing in the group very long. But yeah, it's adds a little uniqueness to it and troubleshooting within the group. That's kind of a fun thing. And hey, that's something to talk about. The grittiness of the campaign not only shows some tense moments with role playing for NPCs or tense situations in combat, but man, the group itself has had some tense moments within each other. And a lot of it's based on the grittiness of it. Like I know for sure, I don't want to say what happens, but there's one event that happens that holy cow was an interesting thing. And I know your character had a lot to say on it. Well, several. Okay, okay, hold on. Several things have happened, and they've actually come full circle again in a way in the campaign, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Um, like they just got brought back up again, and
Yeah.
so there's these emotions that are still around, and it's like, hey, we can't do this again or this again, like because everybody's trying to survive,
Yeah.
and been very interesting and intriguing, I think.
We've
And
had yeah, it's safe to say we've had one character be, in my character's opinion, a little reckless.
which is great because based on what your character is, like, I mean, it's so interesting. I love it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it would be like that if it wasn't a gritty campaign. Now that I think about
Mhm.
it, it's just a classic campaign where there's towns all over and stuff. I don't think any of those conversations would have really come up much, or you would have gotten over them a lot quicker. I think, don't you think?
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah. So very,
Although
very
the one
interesting.
incident, I'm not, I don't
Oh, I know,
know.
I know, I know. There's two of them to me that I am definitely like, wow, okay.
I think the one would have been more resolved if there was more towns.
Yes,
Um,
but I think
the
a lot of them would be that way, honestly. But
the the one
we're
where I finally snapped, the one where I finally snapped at the guy, I think that one would have played out pretty close to the same,
think
regardless.
so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's interesting. And let's talk about the group dynamic too, where seeing that it's a gritty campaign and there's not a lot of stuff around, you guys have found each other. And as the time has gone on, if it was a classic campaign and there was towns all over, there is a good chance that those, 3 to 4 to 5 people, however many that we have, would start branching off from each other. Like it doesn't make sense that my guy would still be with this group. I'm out. I'm gonna go hang out over here,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But since this
I
world is
definitely
like it's
definitely see
survival, man.
Yeah, I definitely see some campaigns work that way. We did
Yeah.
a Curse of Strahd campaign. We got done with it, and the paladin was just like, "I don't want to see any of you ever again." Walked away.
But yeah, I do think that the setting itself has made the group dynamic almost have to stay together. And I didn't plan it to be that way, but I know at the beginning of the campaign I was very upfront, like, hey, everybody, I'm going dark. It's going to be hard. It's post-apocalyptic kind of sort of. Things might not be super fun, classic fantasy, but I hope it's just fun in the immersion in the story, and then your decisions are gonna impact a lot of everything, and it'll be important. Your decisions should be important, so
Right.
for
Right.
sure. But if you are running a campaign, and I heard this from other people as well, but it definitely made a lot of sense to me, and it makes sense just in any campaign, really. Make sure, even if you're running a dark, tough campaign, still put in little rewards here and there because the longer you go with no rewards, it's gonna lead to kind of misery for the people. And it
Right.
doesn't have to be anything super big, but I mean, players want to have fun, players want to level up, they want to get magical items and this and that. So just make sure that it's not constantly okay, here's a really hard fight. You get done. You don't get any rewards. Here's another really hard fight. Okay, you guys camp, you rest. Another hard fight. Like you gotta at least give them a little something, something at times to make sure that they are mentally refreshed after the toughness of it all and the darkness of it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because you got to worry about the players too. Like, because if they're not
Yeah.
having fun, they're just not going to show up. And then, like, what are you going to do? Hard to
Yeah.
DM a game with no players.
Yeah, that's true. It's very true. And obviously always just check in with your players too. try to get their input on things, and go from there.
Yeah.
Some of the other things to watch out for is if you do have a house rule, and this would go for any campaign, but if you make up some house rules and you try them out, see what you think, see what your players think. And
Yeah.
if they are not working out, just change them. It's no big deal because you don't want things to be broken, obviously, and you don't want things to just feel super negative. So, like, for instance, the week of long rest in your gritty campaign. I mean, as a player, and if I was playing a spellcaster, that would probably drive me nuts. I'd probably the whole time be like, man, I wish I was just like a fighter now, you know? Um,
Yeah, but we have again, we have a ranger, we have a thief cleric multi-class,
no
and then we
fun.
have a cleric. They all seemed like they were all in, and we as the players often had the option of like, hey, there's this thing in the world going on. We can interact with it or we can ignore it.
That's
And a
cool.
lot of times we just kept looking for the trouble. We kept running towards the fight. So when
Gotcha.
we could have just chosen to ignore it.
Yeah.
And the DM has done a very good job of making it so that we are rewarded for some of those interactions.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool.
I want to say my
Mm,
character got up to might have gotten to a 22. Oh man, I'll have to he might have gotten to a 22 con. And that's because we were doing those all those extra interactions and telling people what was going on. And
okay.
people are like, yeah,
Um,
we want to help you out. So again, you go back to like give people rewards.
yeah. And if you want to do it this way, I know several of the sessions or settings that I've had in this campaign is it's a tiered reward system. Like if they figure this out, they get this. If they figure this out, they get this. If they figure this out, they get this. And if they don't figure it out, then they don't. Or, like if they go here, they could find out this information and they don't go there. Like, okay, well, they didn't go there. But,
Right.
just kind of keeping that all in check. And it can lead to a lot of fun too.
Yeah.
But it's all balanced like everything else. I will say this too. I like creating my own magical items and my own creatures, but some of them are just based off what's already there for sure.
Mm, yeah.
If you do that, make sure that, if you give somebody that reward and it's super unique, um, just hopefully your players totally understand that if you do something that's super unique and it's too powerful, that maybe you need to adjust it. Or even on the flip side, if you make a magical item and it's actually pretty underwhelming, then be ready to just make an adjustment to see if people like it or not, or give them the option to trade it, I suppose, too. But if you kind
Mhm.
of want that thing to stick around for whatever reason for the story, like we kind of have one in our campaign that, I would love to see stick around. So I've modified it a few times to try to make sure you guys hold on to it. But yeah, that's something too to kind of keep an eye out for. What do you think about death? Like dark campaign, just everybody be ready to potentially die?
I think in any campaign, it's important to not necessarily kill players, but like knock them
Yeah.
down.
Yeah,
Like
I agree.
it makes people think. They're like, oh, this is real, right? Like
Hmm.
this isn't like something I can just come in and casually do. Like that last game that I ran, like it was supposed to be kind of like a dark thing, and I knocked one player down. I had three players in single. No, I knocked two players down. I had three players in single digit, two other players in single digit health,
Yeah.
and they won eventually. But I really felt like there was somebody who could have done more and didn't. I don't think they were necessarily wrong in not doing more because I think they were thinking like, hey, if we have to do another fight and we don't have a long rest, I don't have any gas for that fight.
Hmm.
Correct, but this was also like things were going bad quickly, and this was like an optimal time for a certain spell. You probably should have tried it.
Good point there too, because when I just talked about the some of the reward systems I might have inside a camp, a couple sessions or whatever. Like if they figure this out, they could get all the way up to here for rewards. I do that in combat though too, kind of like you said. You give them combat and have all these little side things, or like, well, if they do this, the combat will be easier. If they think about this, this is like a weakness to this thing, and that that's fun too. And
Yeah.
again, if they're not worried about it, they're not going to think as much. You're 100% right. In
Hmm.
fact, some of them might just be spacing off, and when it's their turn, like, oh, okay, I'll attack with my sword. There's the damage. All right, and then they start spacing off again because
Yeah.
they're not worried, and you don't want the combat to just be long, boring math for an hour.
Yeah.
So
I definitely had them a little bit on their seats.
nice.
I the one thing I kind of regret was the combat one. Like there was kind of a turning point when I actually started having like things leave because I was like, I just don't want to math this out for another hour.
Yeah, yeah. Always be ready to make adjustments for sure.
No.
You just got to gauge it. You don't want to like adjust too much or anything, of course, but yeah, nice. Well, with that being said, if you're deciding to run a really dark, tough campaign, the most important thing that we can give you for advice is just talk to your players ahead of time and give them those
Mhm.
clear expectations on, I think it's going to be like this, this, and this, and this. That's what you should expect. Do you want to play? And if they say yes, I imagine they're going to have fun. I mean, you game with your buddies, they're probably going to have fun. And then as it's going on, just like any other campaign, if you see that they're starting to check out on you, just check in on them and see what you could do differently to kind of get them excited again and then go from there. So if you do run a gritty campaign, please post in the comments what type of house rules and stuff you do or what makes it gritty. We would love to hear it. And actually, would love to even try it too. That'd be awesome. Ooh, that'd be super awesome. Please post your gritty campaign rules and we will totally run one of those. That would be super fun.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. We can
yeah,
let you know how it went for us.
that would be awesome. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, I hope people do that.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe, and we will catch you later. All right. Have fun RPGing, okay?
Yeah.